Good morning and welcome to Story Time. Thank you for joining in as always. Yes, and I am excited today to share with you On Wings of Words, the extraordinary life of Emily Dickinson. Yes, this one is written by Jennifer Berne and illustrated by Becca Stadtlander. So yes, do join us for that one. I am super excited to share that with you. Please let me know where you're joining in from and indeed who is joining in with you. Good morning to you and good evening wherever you are. Thank you so much. João Tiago, how are you doing today? Good to see you. I hope you're having yourself a lovely evening and I hope you had a lovely day. Good morning to you, Miss Vera. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining in. I thought you might like this one today. Good morning to you, Miss Vera. Thank you. All right, Karen Mumba, how are you doing? All the way on the copper belt out in Zambia. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining in. Please remind me the names of the kids. Thank you so much for joining in today. Thank you, Sonia. Doing great. João Tiago, thank you, thank you, thank you. Good evening to you, Diane. Good evening. Good morning to you, Diane. Good morning to you, Ted. Good morning to you, Noah. Oh, can I remember the two? Mariah and help me one more. And good morning to you, Adelina Iron, joining in with Tudor as always in San Francisco. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining in. Naveed, how are you doing? Love that name. Good morning to you. And Anais, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you, Naveed. Please let us know where you're joining us from. Thank you so much. Mariah, Noah, and Nessa, thank you so much. I absolutely love it. Good morning to you, Diane. Thank you. Thank you for saving me on that one. Hey, Ted, how are you doing? Champions League, baby. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining in. Absolutely love it. Danny Rodriguez, how are you doing? Isabella, Leslie, and Luis, good morning to you. Thank you for joining in. Lucy and Wally, how are you doing today out in Los Angeles? Oh, and Dad is here too. Good morning to you, Archie. Thank you so much for joining in. And Archie, Lucy, and Wally, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining in. Love it. Good morning, Zayana and Zion. How are you doing today? Good morning to you right here in Auckland. Ellen in Chicago, how are you doing? You're saying cooler weather today for you. Oh, nice. I love that it feels refreshing out there. I think it's similar to Auckland. It's a bit cloudy right now here, but definitely cool. Good morning to you, Ellen. As always, good to see you and thank you for that update. Karen, thank you, thank you. Yes, we have Warren, Kabamba, and Wanzi. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow. Stephanie Judd, how are you doing? Good to see you here. And of course, good evening to you, Paul, as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Stephanie, when are you coming here? Make all this stop and visit us. Good evening to you. Marco, Jayada, how are you doing today in Sunnyvale? Thank you so much for joining us. Santiago, we miss you. Where are you? Clementine, thank you for joining us. And of course with Eli and Willis. Oh, Wells, sorry, I've been saying it wrong all along. Well, I am correcting it now. Thank you so much, Wells. Thank you for joining us. Wells and Eli, thank you so much out in Los Angeles. And Clementine, thank you so much. Nachihana Luhanga, how are you doing? Good to see you. Jacaranda in the house, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And Nachihana, let us know where you are joining us from. Enid, how are you doing today out in Oregon? Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And you're saying sun breeze in Oregon. Wow, nice. It sounds nice. Thank you for joining us. Absolutely love it. Yes. And remember, today we are reading On Wings of Words, The Extraordinary Life of Emily Dickinson, written by Jennifer Berne and illustrated by Becca Stadtlander. And we're reading this book with permission of Chronicle Books of San Francisco. A big thank you to them for allowing us to share these amazing books with you. Yes, good morning one more time. We're getting started in a minute. Thank you so much, Sienna in Oakland. Thank you for joining us. And you joined in with Pablo. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining in. Emerson in the house. Good morning to you. All right, get ready, get your hot chocolate, get cozy. We're about to get started. On the Wings of Words, The Extraordinary Life of Emily Dickinson. Written by Jennifer Berne and illustrated by Becca Stadtlander. And read with permission of Chronicle Books of San Francisco. All right. Soft moonlit snow draped the Dickinson house in white. It reaches to the fence, it wraps it rail by rail, till it is lost in fleeces. It flings a crystal veil. In a little room in the dark before dawn, a baby girl was born. Her parents celebrated the holiday they called Emily. Emily met the world and began to explore. To little Emily, every bird, every flower, every bee or breeze or slant of light seemed to speak to her. She explored with her eyes, her ears, her thoughts, and found new words for everything she was discovering. The bee is not afraid of me. I know the butterfly. The brooks laugh louder when I come. When thunder crashed and lightning flashed, Emily got scared and called it the fire. Emily adored her older brother Austin. She said there was always such hurrah wherever he was. She loved her school friends, who she said were a warmth as near as if the sun were shining in your hand. Every day, Emily's life rippled with new joys and swayed with new feelings. It was clear Emily was becoming a person in many ways like other people, only more so. Her happies were happier, her sads were sadder. Her thoughts were deeper, her desires were stronger, and oh, there was so much that Emily loved. My heart grows light as so fast that I could mount a grasshopper and gallop around the world and not fatigue him any. Most of all, Emily loved her books. The strongest friends of the soul, books. To Emily, every book was an adventure, a distant journey on a sea of words. And if a book was forbidden, well, that didn't stop Emily. Like the book she wanted, that Austin smuggled into the house and hid inside the piano, Emily rushed it up to her room and read it in delicious secrecy. Every story she read at night by candlelight or in the garden's midday sun was a passion, a ray of light. But there were shadows too. In the 1800s, sorrow was a daily companion. The sorrow of disease incurable, accidents untreatable, and deaths too soon, too close. All this frightened Emily and flooded her mind with questions. Emily tried to find answers at home. She looked for answers at her church. She searched for answers at school. But everywhere she looked, she was told to obey without asking, to believe without knowing why. So she began to put her faith in what she could see and understand. In the name of the bee, and of the butterfly, and of the breeze. Amen. When her very religious school principal separated the class into hopers and no-hopers, Emily was put in the group without hope. Yet Emily did have hope, her own kind. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. So with her hope, she sought her truth. I am out with lanterns looking for myself. Oh. Then, like rays of the sun breaking through the clouds, her thoughts and feelings started to come to her as words. New words, her own words. The robins, the bumblebees, and the daisies she loved. The dark diseases and frightening deaths, the unknowable God and mysterious heaven all came pouring out as poems. Things were budding and springing and singing. Answers she couldn't find in other people, she started to find in herself. I have been dreaming a golden dream, with eyes all the while wide open. Her poems soothed her sadness, gave her strength, set her free. With the power of her words and the freedom of her imagination, she tasted spices in foreign lands and hid inside a flower. She leaned against the sun, dwelt in a house of possibilities, and rode a carriage to the end of time. She became a bird, a worm, a ghost, a god, a beggar, a king, a somebody, and nobody. I am nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell. They would banish you. They would banish us, you know. How dreary to be somebody. How public like a frog. To tell your name the livelong June to an admiring bog. She called her poems my letter to the world that never wrote to me. And so, with her words, her mind, Emily dove into the darkest depths of the sea and of the sadness. She rose up to the glowing heights of the sun and of joy. Emily saw the inner world was bigger than all the world outside. The brain is wider than the sky, for put them side by side, the one the other will contain with ease, and you beside. Emily spent more and more time in her room, writing, creating. She ventured out less and less. Exhilaration is within, she would say. As Emily's inner world grew bigger, her outer world grew smaller. Yes, there were things there were things she still loved in the worldly world. She loved her gardens, the bees, the springtime, and the wind combing its fingers through the trees. And of course, her family, a few very special friends, her big dog Carlo, and children, Emily always loved children, but most people she saw rarely or not at all. Emily began to dress in white, white like clouds, like the foam on a wave, white like a cocoon in her room from which butterflies were born. Butterflies that were poems that flew with Emily on wings of words. People in the town said Emily was weird. Emily was strange. But Emily didn't care what they said of her. Her world was somewhere else. My country is truth. Emily never stopped writing, never stopped exploring. With every day and every poem, she saw more, discovered more, traveled deeper, soared higher for the rest of her life. On a Saturday in May 1886, Emily died, slipping into the eternity she had wondered about and written about all her life. Then something wonderful and amazing happened. Emily's sister, Vinnie, opened drawers, trunks, boxes, and closets, and found hundreds and hundreds of Emily's poems, more than anyone ever imagined. Poems that, on the wings of Emily's words, flew out and away into the future and around the world. Today, almost every library, every bookstore, every school in every city, state, and country has Emily's poems. Emily's words, Emily's letters to each of us. The world is sleeping. We must be crowing cocks and singing larks and a rising sun to awake her. And in those words, can you hear Emily's voice echoing through the years, speaking to you, to all of us who are brave enough to take a pen in hand, to look deep and to write what we discover? I dwell in possibility, a fairer house than prose, more numerous of windows, superior for doors, of visitors the fairest for occupation, this the spreading wide my narrow hands to gather paradise. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining in for that one. Yes, that was On Wings of Words, and that one is The Extraordinary Life of Emily Dickinson, and it's written by Jennifer Berne and illustrated by Becca Stadtlander. Thank you so much for joining in for that one. I hope you enjoyed it. Yes, absolutely moving and magical. I hope you're able to find more time to delve into books, delve into yourself, find yourself, and believe in what you can do. Thank you so much, Emily, for paving the way, showing us that it can be done. Yes, amazing, moving, and so many words, so much richness in that language that we can all benefit from. I hope you enjoyed it. And of course, remember that we are back again tomorrow with another story. And tomorrow we'll be reading I Can Be Anything, right? Just like Emily said, I can be anything. We're moving on tomorrow, another story, but I hope you enjoyed this one, On Wings of Words. And do dive into the life of Emily Dickinson and just find out a little bit more about her and her amazing inspiration. Yes, even when the world around her thought of her as weird and so many other things, but she was there, persevered, and found solace in what she knew best, which was her writing. Thank you so much for joining in for that one. I will absolutely see you tomorrow. Thank you to everybody that joined in. Let's just see and say hello to whoever is with us today. Sienna, one more time, thank you so much for joining us. Yes, as we start to get ready, getting back to school. Sienna, hopefully see you soon. Good morning to you, Pablo. Thank you for joining us. Moffat, how are you doing, my brother? Thank you so much. Good to see you as always. Have a great evening out in Zambia. Thank you for joining in. Good evening to you. Jade, thank you so much. And Ava Scarlett, appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining in today. How are you doing? Oh, yes, absolutely, Miss Vera. Thank you for sharing that. You say lots of snow out in Amherst. Yes, Emily Dickinson's hometown. All right. Kathleen, thank you so much. Happy belated birthday to you. Maya and Raven, thank you for joining us as always. I hope you enjoyed that one. Thank you. I love the butterflies. Thank you so much. In Denmark, have yourself a good evening. Sopuru, Arinze, and Choco, have yourselves a lovely, lovely evening. Thank you for joining in as always. And to you, Sandra, absolutely love it. Thank you for joining in with the kids. Harmony Beth, thank you so much. Yes, do catch us later. And yes, important things out there for sure. Yes, let's continue sharing, building community, and being together. Thank you, Harmony Beth. And talk to you tomorrow. Absolutely enjoy it today, later. Kate, thank you so much. Anais out in San Francisco, thank you for joining in as always. Love it. Thank you so much. Beautiful book indeed. Thank you, Kathleen. Jennifer Vedder, yes, absolutely. Sheltering in place. Jen Vedder, thank you. Thank you, Clementine, as always. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. All right. Lucy, Wally, Archie, and Anne, I will definitely see you tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Adios. See you tomorrow, Sonia. And Zhao Tiago, have yourselves a wonderful night. Thank you so much. And to you, Wells, thank you. I will get it right from now on. From me, it is much love as always, and I will see you in the morning. Bye-bye.
Story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon.